Hey, friends, April here. Happy Thursday. I hope that everybody is doing well. Welcome to another Thursday educational series. So at Touching Clients, we started a few weeks back. We're doing every Thursday, we have a 30-minute training brought to you about having to help grow your business. So it could be marketing, it could be talking about just some general business stuff. And really the goal is to give you 30 minutes of training that's going to reinforce some of the things you probably already know, or get some aha moments and learn some new things. So I'm happy that you're here today. This is being recorded. So if you are catching the replay, hello and welcome. And today we're going to be talking about marketing by the numbers, how small businesses can really use data to make smarter decisions. And data and analytics is one of my favorite tools, and kind of the marketing tool chest and everything that we do to make better decisions in marketing. So definitely drop a hello in the chat, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them as we go, but I'm going to get started here. So everybody should be able to see my screen okay, and we're going to get started now. So again, my name is April Woodcock. I'm with Touching Clients. I own a digital marketing agency. I work from my office in Voluntown, Connecticut, which is in kind of the middle of nowhere. Best way to describe it is I'm pretty close to Stonington and the Rhode Island border. I've been in business for working on 18 years. My husband is my partner in crime. He's often behind the scenes. His name is Kevin. And we have a few other team members, and I'm lucky I have my daughter that also helps out in the business, and we have a few other teammates. So if there's anything I can do for you after, there is my email address. So let's get started, my friends. Whoops, sorry. So really in today's digital world, guessing is not a strategy. You know, I think as business owners, we wear so many hats, and sometimes we get caught in the day-to-day that we're always flying by the seat of our pants. And unfortunately, when that happens, we don't execute well, we don't plan well, but really it's not about, it's not guessing, it's not flying by the seat of our pants. We do need strategies in place, and it's going to help us to make better marketing decisions, and definitely give us data intel that's going to also make a world of difference when we're using the right tools for our business. That being said, we do live in a very noisy world where there's lots of tools to choose from. So kind of big picture, you have your data, which is all the information coming in from all your digital products. However, your traditional marketing products can also be collecting data as well, because you have call tracking tools, you can use QR codes now, but data, and then you have your insight, which is going to give you the tools and information that you need to kind of take those decisions and bring it forward on how you're going to better execute your marketing campaigns, action, and then results. So really where things typically break down that I see oftentimes with small business owners is they kind of jump into the data and are looking at sometimes an overwhelming amount of data and not really knowing where to start, and then kind of not really interpreting the data that's going to help them effectively. So a great example is Google Analytics, phenomenal tool. It's a free tool for all of us, and it can track a lot of information. So people coming to your website, it can track where they're coming from, how long people have stayed on your web pages, what types of content they like. So there's lots of information. However, there's so much information. So really dialing into the information that's good for you is going to make a world of difference. So some of the things we're going to talk about today, metrics that matter most, that I believe matter most in kind of working with small businesses, how to track and kind of look at that data to make better decisions, and then turning those analytics into action, and tools to measure, and cost-effective tools, because I'm all about using cost-effective tools that are good for you and your business, and then improve your ROI, your return on investment. So not all metrics are created equal. So when you're thinking about kind of social media channels, for example, so vanity metrics are like how many likes I have on my page, how many followers. Sometimes we're looking at, especially on social media analytics, you'll see, oh, I had 346 impressions or so many views, which is great, and it's still helpful data. But really the actionable data and metrics is where you want to learn from. So, was there a click-through rate? Did you have a clickable link in your social media post or in your blog post to have somebody take action? Kind of the cost per click. So that's when you're talking about advertising. So when you're getting involved in ads and kind of how ads can how you're implementing your ad campaigns can also kind of give you an idea of how much it's going to cost for you to put out money. So if you have a $50 ad spend and it costs you $20 to get that lead, but then you're spending more money, what is the lifetime value of a client? That's also a good metric to figure out in your business. Kind of leads generated. So how many leads come in? So how many people have raised their hand and said, yes, I'm taking the next step, or yes, I've scheduled a consultation. But lead generation looks different on different campaigns, right? So an email lead could be, so if you captured an email address, that could be a lead generated. And then how is your conversion rate? So like if you've sent out 500 emails or 10,000 emails, how many people are actually converting and clicking on those links and taking action? So those are really kind of looking at all the metrics, but there is a big difference between the two. And we always like the actionable metrics because that means our marketing is doing some work for us, right? To capture that new business and that revenue wheel. So the key is you want to match those metrics to your business goals. So if your goal is awareness and you're doing content marketing, you're getting it out to your social media channels, you're using email. So you want to track the reach. How far did it reach? How many impressions and how many engagements? So this is where that kind of I use that example of vanity. So the likes, the shares, the conversations on social media posts or even on your blog posts, that would be an awareness kind of metric. If your goal is leads, so you want to start to track the landing page conversion. So how many people came into a specific page, how much that cost you to get them there, if there was a cost involved. And I say ads cost money, but also your time costs money too. So you might be paying somebody in a role and you're using an email tool. If you really want to get down in the weeds, you can kind of look at all the costs that it's costing you to create time spent and all that to get that cost per lead. And then your list growth. How fast is your list growing from your conversion? And then if your goal is sales, which we all have that kind of in our wheelhouse as business owners, right? So you want to understand kind of the revenue you gathered from each campaign, kind of your return on investment, and then your abandoned cart rate. So if you're using online, especially digital tools, you want to know how many people abandoned your cart and that didn't convert because there's something might be missing in your messaging. So the core metrics I believe every small business owner should know is traffic, number one. So that's going to be traffic to your website. Your website is going to be your business hub. You own that. It's not rented real estate, although you pay for your domain and you have, depending upon your website builder, but you have the most control over that element of your business online, right? Social media, wave a magic wand, it can go away tomorrow. But so traffic to your website. So how long people are staying on a specific page, kind of the source or medium, that's where the traffic came from. So if you sent out an email campaign, you should be able to track that back to say, okay, they clicked onto this page on my website. Or if they came from a social media post, they here, even a QR code, you can track that back to a page. So all those digital elements you're putting out to the universe and all those pieces of marketing intel, you want to look at how that's coming back. So traffic is a big one. Engagement. This is where when you're looking at your website, how long somebody spent on your page. So if somebody's come to your page and they've spent 1 second and you're noticing a trend, that's not a great trend. So that's something where you're going to want to take a look deeper. Then how many clicks, how we're on your page, saves could be on social media, as well as shares on social media. Shares are definitely more meaningful in terms of getting your reach farther than just a general like. And then obviously the more conversations that you're having. So lead metrics, so email signups. Email, there's money in the list. I truly believe that you can have, it doesn't matter necessarily the size of your list. If you have 100 contacts and it's a quality list, you can be making lots of money from that list. But email signups are definitely something you want to monitor and have part of your marketing strategy. And then form submissions on your website or your landing page. How many people actually contacted you or took the next step on your website? That's something you want to look at. Sales metrics obviously comes down to orders or new clients in the door. And then you definitely want to, with your sales metrics, you can better track kind of the average order value. So how, like the average sale or the average client that comes through the door. Retention, this is a big one, right? Repeat purchase. So if you are building your know, like, and trust, and you have those people already in your funnel, you want to do a good job of nurturing them and wowing them with customer service, right? Because the more that you do, the more likely they're going to purchase again. So that is a great metric that we want to be looking at, is retention. So kind of places you can get your data from, and these are free resources. So there's obviously paid tools too, but so you have Google Analytics. Google Analytics is free. I recently talked to a business owner, and we were talking about some digital marketing stuff they were looking for. And one of the things I did was you can actually use, it's called builtwith.com. And so it's a tool where you can actually go and put in a website URL, and you can kind of see what's attached to the website. And they didn't have Google Analytics. And so they're not able to even track, they hadn't set it up. And that's a valuable tool, friends, because again, that sits on your website and you can track kind of everything coming in. Facebook and Instagram insights, YouTube, LinkedIn, so all social media tools, they have free insights. You just want to make sure on your social media channels that you are set up, when applicable, as a business channel, because that's where you're going to get your metrics. I know on Facebook you can upgrade your profile now, so you will be able to get metrics, but just make sure that you're set up for success so you get those metrics if you're actively using any of those social media sites. Your email platform, so your email analytics are going to be able to tell you how many were sent, how many were bounced, your open rate, where they clicked in the email. They also give you the ability to show you the engagement rate over time of your person on your list, so that's always helpful. And then CRM tools. So CRM tools are your customer relationship management tools. HubSpot has a free small business tool. There's others out there, but they help you to track information about a contact record that came into your funnel. So that maybe it was their email, their first name, and then as you grow your relationship, you can start to track more data from them. So 3 questions you always want to be thinking about when you're thinking about metrics. Is my metrics decreasing or increasing? Obviously, we always want to see them increasing, but the other question is, why is this happening? What happened? Was there a broken link? Was there something that wasn't working right? What's going on? Why is this not, why is it decreasing? Or why is it increasing? That's the best case scenario, right? And then what can I do next? Because there's always ways that we can improve. Even if we're increasing our business, there's always ways to increase our efficiencies and dial in on our audience and get to know them better, so that we're segmenting and talking to them more effectively. So an example would be an open rate dropped, right? Is it the subject line? An open rate of the subject line, you have under 3 seconds for somebody to make a decision in their inbox. So it very well could be the subject line. It could be the time of day you sent it. It could be that it could be the time of day. It could also be a software issue. Typically, it's not that. It's usually something with how it went out. And then, when was the last time you emailed that list? That can also play into open rates. So, we all sometimes become the cobbler. What is it? Gosh, I've heard the cobbler in the cobbler's shoes or something like that, where you are, you're working in your business and you're not consistent on your own marketing, and your list can become cold. So that's also something to consider. So here's some examples. So a traffic example, your Facebook posts get 2,400, over 2,400 views, but only 14 link clicks. Here's the interpretation of that social media post. The content got attention, but the call to action didn't convince people to click. Now that is a very realistic scenario. And for some of us, 14 clicks, we're excited, right? But at 2,400 views, we should definitely be getting a little bit more click-throughs to wherever the content we're asking. So the action, and this is how you have to be thinking. So you're looking at your data, what's working, what's not working. Then you're going to take that, interpret that information, and then you're going to make another plan to, okay, the action is change the copy. Let's ask a question. Let's use a clear call to action, because maybe I have too much content, or maybe I have too little content. So A/B testing is one of those things that's really great, especially once you have an idea of some of the metrics. Another example would be an email campaign. So the open rate is 41%, which is good. 41% is good. The one thing you always have to remember about open rates on email, they kind of sway either way, a few percentage, probably up to about 5%, because we have our smartphones now, we have tablets, people are opening it on different elements. So the tracking is a little bit, it's not exact. So, but click-through rate is 2%. So when I'm looking at that, you know, the subject line, I feel like mine was strong. I got people to open it, but 2% on my click-through rate, you're sending emails to somebody that's already raised their hand and signed up for your email list. So they should be clicking through to your content within your email, because that's something they signed up for. They're an interested audience. So I would look at my call to action of why they're not clicking through. So maybe add a button, fewer links in an email campaign. You don't want more than 2 to 3 links in an email, preferably 2. Less is more, because when we have too many, it's a smorgasbord and people don't commit. They're like, wait a minute. And then also stronger call to action on language. So sometimes people just leave the kind of generic submit here, click here. Be a little bit creative. And this is where AI can be a great resource for that. So like you can go in and say, give me some subject lines on this. What about calls to actions on this? I want it to be strong. I want it to be friendly, and see what it comes back. And then what you could do is even go further. You could split that email into 2 different lists and change the call to action and subject line on one and the other, and see how you do. Another example would be your website landing page. So an example, you have 500 visitors, you have 10 signups, so the conversion rate's about 2%. So the benchmark for small business is 4 to 6%. So it's definitely below that. And so this is something where when you have your website, so I'm using this as an example, but it is always good to do some research, right? Research on kind of your industry average of things. Now, obviously they're not 100%, but every year, typically in different industries, they're going to give you metrics and kind of, you can always find something that's a newer stat of data. AI will have some, but at the end of the day, you really want to double check that and do some research on Google and things to find out industry averages, because I don't always trust AI's kind of back information, because sometimes it's a little bit dated. So the action would be simplify your page copy. Excuse me, because sometimes page copy is way too long. Add testimonials. That's social proof. That's proof of people that have used your services, bought your product. And then think about improving the layout. Layout definitely can have something to do with it. Also, this is where your Google Analytics can come into play, because on your Google Analytics, you can see if they're on desktop or if they're on mobile. So maybe you need to look at your landing page or your website page and look at it on the mobile side too, and say, okay, I have 70% coming to my website on my mobile version. Now I need to make sure that I double check all of my mobile stuff. You should be doing it anyways, but it might help you to have better conversions. So turning numbers into next steps. So kind of the question is, what is the number telling me to do? And you know, so these are more examples of just getting your head thinking about different elements of analytics. So low engagement, maybe change the creative on it. High engagement, low clicks, update your call to actions. High clicks, low conversions, fix your landing page, take a look at it. And I know that there's a lot of solopreneurs out there. Look to kind of team up with somebody that can also take a look with a fresh pair of eyes and a different perspective. That's where I love small business communities, where you can kind of get a different perspective. We're all in it together, kind of in the small business arena, but people have different ideas of things, and it's always great to find a collaborative partner or community community that can also help with you to kind of look at things differently, like your landing page. High conversions. If you are getting high conversions and on an ad, I'd increase that budget, because what's that going to do? That's going to bring in more leads into your funnel. Low retention. Think about updating your email nurturing. So retention, believe it or not, email marketing has a lot to do with help retaining clients. The more consistent you are in staying up to date with regular content, you don't have to be selling to them all the time, but it's just top of mind awareness of your brand, because once you stop, what happens is people fall off. They forget about you. They've moved on. So you want to keep them engaged, because when they originally came to you, especially with email marketing, they've raised their hand and said, yes, I want to see your data, or your, not your data, I'm interested in what you have to offer. So just keep that in mind. That can affect a lot to do with retention and how often. And the more you can automate some of those processes, it becomes a little bit easier for you. Build a monthly marketing dashboard. So things, when we say dashboard, you can use an Excel spreadsheet, but you should be always making an appointment with yourself, at least at a bare minimum once a month, to look at your metrics. You want to put those traffic, your leads, how much sales you have, your return on investment, top performing content. So if you have a great blog post you wrote, or a great social media post, or maybe it was a great video on YouTube, you want to make sure that you're tracking that, because then you can learn from that to say, okay, what they really liked this about Zoom and how to use Zoom. Now what can I dial in a little bit deeper and maybe create some more video content on Zoom? Underperforming content, and then recommended for next month. So make it simple. It's just about planning, right, friends? So planning and being consistent, but also monitoring those metrics. And look at trends. This is where we start to get to know, especially in the beginning, we might not know our trends, but as small business owners, over time, we start to have trends of like peak times of business, and then there's lower kind of lulls, or just kind of flat, right? So you definitely want to compare your month over month, compare year over year. And you want to track at least 3 to 5 key performance indicators, so things that are working, and then look for rapid changes. So, we're in a very changing economy, up and down right now. And this is something where you want to look for definitely drops and spikes. And then over time, that kind of analytics is going to help you to kind of take a really hard look at what, so we have a spike in business. What did we do differently? Did we add a new tool? Did we start a new service? Did we change our content plan? Or we have a drop. Oh God, we haven't been sending emails. We haven't reached out to our clients. We're seeing a drop in our sales. We're not posting consistently on social media. So these are things you want to always be looking at. Simple tools that you can use, and these are affordable options. So Google Looker Studio has dashboards. So you can kind of create a dashboard, and that's something where you would do it with also pulling in your analytics. Meta Ads Manager, this is something, if you are running ads on social media, you can definitely look at that. Constant Contact Active Campaign. Many of you know I'm a Constant Contact business partner, and I use it in my own business, but all email service providers have some kind of analytic tools that you can always look at. Magi is great. It's a great AI cumulative tool. I work with Steve Dotto, and he has an AI academy that we run every week with Dustin, who owns Magi. So Magi, actually, I started using it about 6 months ago, and I love it because it works with different AI tools, and it gives me some different perspective. Canva. You can create Canva reports. You can do this on the free version of Canva. It's something where maybe down the road you want to look at Pro, because it gives you a lot more. And then UTM links. So UTM links are basically helping you track back to your Google Analytics. It does, I will tell you, it's going to take a little bit more time when you're putting links out to the universe. But if you want to track a campaign, and this is a great thing for, say you're going to do traditional marketing and you're going to send a mailer. Maybe you're a nonprofit and you're going to send a letter and it has a QR code to your donation page. I would use, and your donation page is on your website, I would use a UTM link, meaning that I would put it into, it's called UTM, it's developers, anyways, even a bit.ly. Bitly, for example, but you want to be able to track that data back to your Google Analytics. It really helps you to be more effective in your campaign building, and a great tool, and it's free. So kind of your beginner data stack of things to think about: Google Analytics, email platform, social media, and a simple spreadsheet to track it. You can put it in, and it's something where in your team, if you have people in your team or if you're working with a VA, make columns and just fill out the information every time that you send an email. Now, I will tell you, you can, this is also bonus in all of these, you can export to an Excel file. So you can pick a date range and export it into Excel. So you could create your own tabs in an Excel file and just keep tracking. The one thing that I'm going to tell you that is, if down the road you want to sell your business, you think that your business is something that you can easily sell, these metrics are going to come in handy. You're going to want to know what's working and what's not working. And a lot of times people will ask, how much traffic do you have to your website? What is your conversion rate? These are metrics that you want to know to be able to sell your business for your future self. So AI can definitely help you. So you could take your spreadsheets and put them into AI and ask it to summarize the analytics, look for patterns, also suggest improvements, and it also can give you A/B test ideas. So like, here's a sample prompt: analyze my Facebook insights and identify which posts should be scaled, cut, or repurposed. And you'd be surprised at what it comes back. Now, you might have to take that question further and dial in a little bit deeper, but it's definitely something AI can help with, kind of looking at the data more efficiently. It can help save time. So here's another kind of mini case study. I have two. So with social media, so the problem is they have lots of followers, right? But no website traffic. So that's great. You have all these followers on your social media channel, but nobody's coming from social media to your website. When we looked at it, it was posts were really just inspirational. There was no calls to action or value, so to speak. So I don't want to say inspirational quotes are not valuable, because I do think that they inspire people, they make people feel good, and they bring joy to some people in their lives. However, as a business owner, you have to be thinking about how you're going to monetize this. How are you going to monetize this? By getting them on your email list, or that they're going to pay for services. So the solution would be to shift to educational content, so kind of sharing more value with clear calls to action, and then putting a link in every post. So you're trying to get people to take the next step. The result was a 140% increase in traffic in 45 days. So just by that little tweak, it really was a little tweak, because inspirational quotes, you can actually turn those into educational posts, right? You could probably write a blog from it. There's lots of things that you could do. So here's one for an email: low repeat purchases. So most purchases were happening in the first 30 days because people were excited. And what was happening was there was email newsletters, but not personalized campaigns towards people that purchased. So once they realized that people were purchasing in the first 30 days, they wanted to re-engage them and keep them kind of buying more of their products. So a 3-part re-engagement automation. So it was really just a 3-part email series that was automated, just kind of after their first purchase, keeping them engaged. That was specific to what they were interested around the product they bought. And it resulted in 17% increase in 60 days. So just a small tweak, creating something automated, because here's the thing: we all like to feel valued. And although we get a lot of email, when you sign up for something, you start to look for it. And if it's a one-hit wonder, you bought the product and then you don't hear from them for a month or two, you've already moved on. So that's also providing great customer service too, and creating those automated campaigns. I think they can make a difference. So some key takeaways from today: data reduces wasted marketing effort and wasted marketing money. Metrics can drive better decisions. Focus on those actionable metrics. Interpret, act, and measure. So look at your results, take action, and then measure again. And you're going to continue to do that. You don't have to have 20 different campaigns going on at once. You need to set yourself up for success to have manageable campaigns. However, you definitely want to be looking at how many you want to be looking at those campaigns. How many are reasonable for you to, sorry, I lost my train of thought. How many are reasonable for you to set up? But how many of those campaigns are definitely kind of from the start to finish? So when they've clicked on the link, how am I getting them to convert, and then kind of nurturing them? So definitely look at simple tools. Do not jump around to all different types of tools. There's lots of shiny pennies out there. Try to commit to a tool that you can scale with, but there's lots of inexpensive tools that you can definitely use that are going to be helpful in your business. And definitely schedule that A appointment with your A client, yourself, in your business. Review that data because that data is going to help you to make better decisions. And nothing's worse than kind of finally taking a look at your metrics and seeing like nothing's happened. You've posted on social media, and social media is a marathon as it is to get engagement, but you've posted on social media and you have all these posts and nothing's happening. So you want to review your data definitely on a monthly basis. So next steps for you is choose 5 KPIs. So 5 key performance indicators, set up or review your Google Analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics, it's free. You just go to Google and do googleanalytics.com, and you're going to come there and you're going to set it up. I would encourage you, if you don't have it set up, that you use one Gmail account, because you do need to have a Gmail account, and set up all your tools. So your Google Ads, your Google My Business, all of that is under one email address. So you're not going and trying to search and put it all together. If you have somebody that's a web developer and they set it up for you, make sure they set it up to your email, and then you can make them a manager of it. But you want to make sure that you own that account and you have access. Think about the simple dashboard, and the dashboard could really just be on a web Excel spreadsheet. Run A/B tests. I'd encourage you to test your email once a month, test your social media, just A/B test, get in the practice of seeing what works and what doesn't work. And then always look at your platform insights. Even if you just take a quick peek and see how things are doing. If you are running ad campaigns and you have money going out the door in your ads, definitely something you want to be looking at regularly. It takes a few days for ad campaigns to usually kind of get going, so you can start to see some metrics, but it's something where I would always make sure that you set a budget, and that you have kind of an end date on that budget. Years ago, I had somebody come to me, and I felt terrible. They were working with a client, and they were running an ads campaign, and they thought they had put an end date, and they hadn't. And what was happening, nobody really knew, and it took a few months to catch up, and it was like thousands of dollars of ads that were like not doing anything, but they were paying for them. So just be mindful of that. All right, that is 32 minutes. I said 30. So join us next week. We are going to be talking about content that connects, how to blend kind of the SEO, so search engine optimization, and I'll talk a little bit about GEO, which is kind of the AI element of SEO, and authenticity. So I encourage you to set a reminder. And let's see. And then again, thank you so much for coming. My name's April, and I offer free consultations if you want to get some more information about kind of learning about your data and your analytics. I'm here to help. And I'm just going to drop that in the chat here. All right. All right, my friends. Well, I look forward to seeing you next Thursday. And I'm going to go back to this slide here so you can kind of set a reminder for next week's our Thursday webinar. And I hope that you guys have a great, fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Thursday. Thanks so much, friends. Have a great day.